Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Introduction to Financial Aid. We are going to just be introducing the topic today. If you are watching on YouTube, welcome. It's much more fun if you're in person because we do a Q&A, but that's okay. Better late than never watching the video. So we're going to go ahead and get moving. The reason this is a series instead of an individual session is because we need to talk about a lot of different things. Financial aid is part of the search strategy. Do not be the person that says, we'll apply everywhere and figure it out later, because you may apply poorly, so to speak. You need to be looking at creating a list that's based on your family's unique financial situation and your learners, or you, if you are a learner, unique academic background. These two things change the price of college. Believe it or not, college does not have a general sticker price. There are many ways that that price changes. I'm going to say this over and over and over again. The best financial aid comes from the college itself. It does not come from a magic scholarship. It does not come from applying to 80,000 million scholarships, although sometimes you do have some luck, but that's very rare. The best thing that you can do is choose your colleges so that they are going to treat you well financially. And it is a different strategy with every family member. Now, today is just the introduction. I'm going to talk a little bit about FAFSA and the CSS profile. We are going to divide each individual topic into a fully separate session so we can really dive in depth. The next one will be about loans and debt. We're going to be just concentrating on what the government can give, private loans, everything that has to do with loans and repaying them. We're going to be spending a full session on merit scholarships, merit aid scholarships, and the reality of what it is that is giving a discount. And so we have a full session on that. And then we have a full session on need-based aid, also known as grants. And so depending upon where your financial situation is, you may want to lean towards one or the other, or a combination of both. I'm going to say it again. There is a strategy here. Financial aid, financing colleges needs a strategy. So colleges do a calculation, and every college has a different calculation. But one of the ways that they do it is they use the FAFSA. And notice the word free. It is a free application for federal student aid. If you find yourself on a website that is offering you assistance, if you find somebody saying, I'm happy to assist you with the FAFSA for a fee, you need to turn around and run the other direction. It is free and it is simple. And I am especially surprised to be saying it's simple, because in the last couple of years, they've been working on making it simpler. They've been simplifying the application, and I think they did it this year. For the first time, the reports I'm getting back from families that have gone through the FAFSA application process has been, wow, I thought it was going to be painful, and it wasn't. So this is an application for federal student aid. It also will give some California aid, which we're going to go into. There is also the DREAM Act application. So if you are a student who is undocumented, is not eligible for federal student aid, California does have aid for our public colleges. And then the CSS profile is another form. And I want to make this clear. All three of these are forms. It is like going into your doctor's office, taking a pen and filling it out. It does not give you money. It provides information to the entities that can. So when people say, I got FAFSA, you didn't. You filled out a form. But if they say, I got a grant, that's different. FAFSA, the CATA, and the CSS profile are forms that are available online. So let's talk about who uses which form. The FAFSA is typically used by U.S. citizens, permanent residents, eligible non-citizens, T visa holders. These are the folks that are eligible for federal aid. Those are the folks that are going to concentrate on the FAFSA. On the other, at the same time, what is it for? Sorry, skipping ahead. I was getting all excited. I thought we were going to talk about the other one first, but my mistake. What is it for? It is for the following types of aid. Pell Grants. The Pell Grant is for a lower income family. Student federal loans. Remember that exercise we just did where I asked you what the maximum amount you could take out in a student loan as a first year or as an undergrad? Student federal loans come through the FAFSA. Parent federal loans. If you would like to take your loan from the federal government, it will come from the FAFSA and work study. This is where you are kind of subsidized for the income that you can make on campus as a student. These come from the FAFSA, but also because we're living in California, it's important to know that California also has its own grants as well that come from the FAFSA. So when you fill out the FAFSA, you're looking at this federal stuff. You got Pell and loans and parent loans, but California has the Cal grant as well as a couple other grants that they also use the FAFSA for. So FAFSA works for federal and, in California's case, state aid. FAFSA is used by most every college, public and private. There are a few colleges that refuse to take the FAFSA because they refuse to take federal aid. Often these are small religious colleges. Most of those still take the FAFSA, but there are a few that might surprise you. But it's used by all public and private colleges with that small exception. It's open. If you are one of our seniors, if you are a parent of a senior, go for it. It's open, it's ready. The due date is college dependent. So if you are applying for a college and your due date is November 1st or 15th, as many of our early applications are, that's coming. And so you want to get that FAFSA in there. If you're applying for a UC or CSU only, a California public only, we're looking at around March 2nd, and then everything in between. So basically the deadline for the FAFSA is the first college application deadline. That is what you aim for. So look at all your application deadlines, choose the first one, and that is the day the FAFSA is due. Okay, this is for undocumented students. For learners who are undocumented, have a valid or expired DACA, U visa holders, and temporary protected status. In California, you are still eligible for aid. You're not eligible for federal aid, but you are eligible for state aid. So this is a California-specific document, and it does not qualify you for anything but aid in California, but there is aid here. And now we have my favorite form, and I say that with the utmost sarcasm, the CSS profile. The CSS profile is a form that only a few of you will probably fill out. It is specifically meant for a certain type of college, a college with very deep pockets that fills a significant portion of need-based aid. It is owned by the College Board because everything seems to be owned by the College Board. They're the folks that do the SAT, the PSAT, the AP. They also own this form, and this form is then used by the colleges. It has a fee. I love the idea that you're paying a fee for the CSS profile, not the FAFSA. You're paying a fee because you need financial aid. But in the last couple of years, they've also given a fee waiver if you are below a certain income. So otherwise, there is a fee for each time you submit it. But if you are of a lower income where that would be a hardship, they now no longer have that fee. It's required by those private colleges that provide significant need-based aid. So once again, those deep pockets, those are all your Ivy Leagues. There's a lot of others. Looking in California, that includes USC, that includes the Claremont colleges, that includes Stanford. Those colleges are going to require the CSS profile. Most other colleges in California are not your UCs, not your CSUs, not your Chapmans or Whittiers or places like that. It will tell you on the website. So go into the website of the colleges you're applying for, find out what the financial aid deadlines are, and it will tell you whether it's FAFSA or it's FAFSA and CSS profile. So if you are a family that needs significant need-based aid, this form is for you. I filled it out for 4 years. It was a nightmare, but it was well worth it because it gave my family significant aid for one of my sons. Okay, what do you do if you got multiple college students? This has changed a bit over time. So if you are a parent that has done this before, it may look a little different. Each student needs their own FAFSA application. So every student is going to go in, and every student will invite their parents individually, and you will receive an invitation for each child. It was a little different in the past. I know when I did it, I could do both my kids at the same time. They have changed that so that you're going in with each child, but the work you're going to do is a lot easier than a few years ago, so it shouldn't be as daunting as that sounds. But it starts with the student filling out their section and inviting the parent. So just be aware that this is a two-person process. What do you do if you're divorced? Common situation. So when you have a married family intact in the house, the student is going to invite those parents. But if the parents are living separately and they have two different households, the student is going to only invite one parent. They only need one family's income. And this is the wording that they use. It is the family that provides the most financial support. But they don't really give a definition of financial support. In my opinion, financial support should include the roof over your head, the clothes on your back, and the food on your table. So it doesn't necessarily mean the parent that is supplying the most money in terms of cash is that parent. And so you as a family can decide who is going to be the family on the FAFSA. There's a kind of a nasty surprise in that the word family includes a step parent. And so when you're looking at the family and the family's income, the step parent is included. Now, the CSS profile, that's the one that goes to the colleges with the deep pockets, the ones that give very significant need-based aid. They require everybody's income, both families and their spouses. So they are really digging in deep to everybody's income because they're giving a lot of money. So there is kind of a give and take there. So one family, if there's a divorce for the FAFSA, and the full family, both sets, if there is a CSS profile. Okay. On the business owner situation with the FAFSA, it's gone back and forth. So several years ago, no worries. Then the last 2 years, worries. And here it is now. At this time, business owners for the FAFSA, if you have a small business, they're not going to ask the worth of your business anymore. CSS, they will. And we had a business with the CSS profile. I actually went to my accountant because I was so confused by the form. She looked at it. She said, I'm just as confused as you are. So it is confusing to try to deal with those business assets. Some colleges ask for more information than others. So that's for the CSS profile. But for the FAFSA, they have tried to really make this as easy as possible. So if you own a small business, you should be able to get through those questions pretty easily. CSS, just be prepared. But if you need need-based aid, it is well worth the pain. So what do you need for the FAFSA? You need your documentation, social security numbers, you need IDs. When you are ready to go into the FAFSA website, it will give you a full list of what you need. And you need to create a FAFSA ID, typically username and password. So you can get that started at any time. The student and the parent will both have their own IDs. The student will have an ID and the parent will have an ID that works for multiple students. So the parent is just going to make one ID and they'll use that as many times as they need to. The student will create an ID and that ID goes on forever. I was a graduate student 20 years ago. I'm still using the same ID when I had my FAFSA, when I filled it out for my kids, when I check on my own loans and things now, it's the same ID. This ID lives with you forever. So create it with a good email account and a strong password. Okay, so there is financial aid available. That's why I did that little exercise in the beginning to kind of show you that there are discounts and there, it's not as scary as it looks if you have a strategy. So let's look and see what's available in California. I love the Cal Grant. The Cal Grant is a beautiful thing. It is a combination of merit and need. Taking a look at the income ceiling. So basically, if a student has a Cal Grant GPA, a Cal Grant GPA is 10th and 11th grade of a 3.0 or above. That's all you need is 3.0 or above for most of your Cal Grants. This is the income ceiling. There's no sliding scale here. It is a cliff. It is not, there's not a sliding scale. If you hit this number, if you are below this number, you get it. If you are above this number, you don't. So you can take a look at the number, take a look at your family size. You can see that it's a California number and California is a pretty expensive place. So to get the Cal Grant, well, those are the numbers for 26, 27. So I'll just leave them up for you to peruse for a moment. And then you can see the assets as well. So for a dependent student, usually about 111, just under 112,000 in a bank account. This does not include retirement. This does not include retirement, so you don't have to worry about what you have in retirement accounts. It does include bank accounts, brokerages, things like that. So there you go. Okay, trying to get to that income ceiling. Okay, there we go. Now, how much the Cal Grant is will vary by California school. Once again, this is just for California schools. So the income is a 3.0 in 11th and 12th grade. It is an unweighted 3.0. It has different award amounts depending upon the schools you choose. The award amounts for the UC and CSU system are very, very similar to the tuition amounts. They're just below the tuition amounts. The goal is to get you pretty close to full tuition with the Cal Grant if you're qualified. UCs are about $15,000, $16,000 a year. You can see it cuts right underneath that. The CSUs are about 7,000-ish a year. Don't have the number memorized. It switches a little bit, just under that. For students who are a little bit lower income, there's actually another grant that is put on top of it to meet that tuition amount. So depending upon where you are with the income, you are pretty close to a full tuition amount. Private not-for-profit colleges, they will give you just a little over $9,000 to cut the paying down, but they do not cut all the paying down. That is between you and the school and what they choose to give you. Private for-profit colleges, often you'll find trade schools, you'll find career colleges. If they are WASC accredited, it's about $8,000. If it's not WASC accredited, maybe you're looking at a school that does cosmetology, things like that. It's a $4,000 discount. And that $1,648 for lower income, that is about the meeting of tuition. So it's pretty good in California if you meet that ceiling. Okay. Sorry if you can hear all the noise behind me. I'm terribly sorry. There's all kinds of stuff going on behind me that I can't seem to get to stop. So hopefully that will become clear that the noise needs to stop, and we will continue on with our public colleges. Okay, so the UCs and CSUs, the UC specifically has its very own scholarships as well to help deal with that pain. They know we are California families. They know that California is an expensive place to live. So you will find that the amounts are pretty generous. Sorry. Blue and Gold Opportunity Plan, that's up to $100,000. Tuition is free. I bet you could figure out how they do it. They do it through the Cal Grant. So up to $100,000, you could pretty much count on your UC education being free. The middle class scholarship, which is for UCs and CSUs, take a look at that income ceiling, $250,000. It means that you're going to get a little bit off if you're up to that income. Not a whole lot, 10 to 40%, depending upon that sliding scale. I have found the UCs to be exceptionally generous compared to even the CSUs and other schools. So for students who have some need, we can see that it's pretty generous. There are also other types of grants, equal opportunity program. You'll see that in the application, especially for students who are first generation, lower income, need support. It's like a symphony back here behind me. Okay, so let's take a look at the middle class scholarship. This is for the UC CSUs, California. This is for the public colleges only. Middle class scholarship income ceilings, $250,000. So what I want people to know is, everyone comes to me and says, I make too much money, I'm not going to get anything. And I say, well, how much do you make? And they say, a lot of money, 100,000. And I say, oh, you're going to get some help. And they say, well, what about 150? You're going to get some help. And so you saw with those Cal Grant amounts, you are seeing with the middle class scholarship that they understand we live in a very expensive state. So now for seniors and graduates, this is it. It's open. Go do your FAFSA. It is open. It is ready for you. And the feedback I have had this year has been fabulous. Remember, each college has its own deadline. The FAFSA deadline is the deadline of your earliest college. If you are only applying to UCs and CSUs, it's March 2nd in order to qualify for that Cal Grant. Don't forget. It's really important. It is for all post-secondary options. It is for four-year colleges and two-year colleges and trade schools, career colleges. It is not just for folks going to a four-year college. Everyone should be filling out the FAFSA. Everyone. And like I mentioned, typically March 2nd for those California public deadlines. The CSS profile is also open, but do not fill it out unless you are dealing with a school that needs it. The general terminology that they use, how does it feel to fill out the CSS profile? It feels like a financial aid colonoscopy. I'm just going to let that hang out there. It's a miserable form that gives a lot of money. It is worth it to fill it out because the schools that use it are the ones that want to help you. But it is not for every college. It will be on the financial aid page, whether you need that CSS profile or not. Okay, like I said, preparing for financial aid is part of the search. It is a strategy. You need to understand each aspect of the strategy to understand what specifically you need to do for you and your family. So we're dividing it into 4 sessions. Today was the intro. We're doing loans and debt on November 7th. We're doing merit scholarships and discounting. Notice it says scholarships and discounting in the same line. Scholarships, they're kind of a discount. November 21st, need-based aid. That's where we're going to get into those grants, those loans. We're going to talk more about the California options. We're going to talk more about that schools that use a CSS profile, as well as schools that give a lot of generous aid. And that's going to be on December 5th. So come to all of them. That way you can plan your strategy. So what I'm going to do is I am going to stop the recording. We're going to start our Q&A. If you have been watching at home, I thank you. Sorry about the noisy background. Happens here when you work from home. But hopefully you can join us next time and you can come to our Q&A.